These musings always came to him at moments like this, times when he realized the limitations and weaknesses in the flawed design of human flesh, its many shortcomings unsuited for the demands of the technologically complex 21st century.
You know what's interesting about the timing of the launch of this book, of Sirius and Limnic? And the reason why I say that is because I think people are thinking a lot about what comes next for themselves and society at large. I mean, with vaccines for the COVID pandemic being rolled out like right now in the US and other parts of the world, 2020 is finally coming to an end. This is December when I'm recording this, and a change of government, of course, coming very soon here in the US at the time, at like right now. It's no surprise that the future in general is the hot topic right now. This goes for the stories that we're telling ourselves as a species and as a culture as well. And I'm not just talking about US culture, I'm talking about like global culture in general, right? Because I think we're all moving there, especially after this year. So many things have happened. So the future is on our minds. And I feel like I've been encountering many new works of fiction that are focusing on just that. They're focusing on the future. Recent games like Cyberpunk 2077, still haven't played it by the way. Upcoming movies like Outside the Wire on Netflix, and countless new books that have crossed my path in the last few weeks all seem to be depicting some version of the future of humanity. And by and large, the future typically ranges from between average to poor, right? It's usually not this, oh, we've got everything figured out type of future. No, it's usually like things are messed up, and most storytellers, at least to sell tickets or, get downloads or get clicks or whatever, seem to think that humanity in the future will look like a society dominated by technology, in which the extremes of human nature have been or are allowed to flourish. This often leads to a cold society in which human values that we cherish now, like connection, communication, and purpose, are obsolete. I mean, why bother with love? Things like, soft stuff like that when you can do things that were once considered superhuman online or in your brain even without moving an inch. So where does my depiction of the future fall in the range of future scenarios? Well, it's a little complicated. Let me explain. One of the interesting things about my novel is that although it does take place in the not too distant future, there are many non-futuristic aspects of the story that I include in it. Characters still do mundane things like riding in Ubers and in vehicles, exercising, hanging out, talking with other people. It's all still there. We still do those things in the future, at least in the future of my novel, right? I think one of the tropes of sci-fi writing is to focus on technology, as opposed to focusing on the experiences of the characters in the story. I definitely did not go in that direction with Sirius and Limnic. And there's two reasons for this. The first one being, I'm just not interested in that technology. I found as I was writing, anytime I had the opportunity to, come up with a new type of, gadget or new type of trend that, I'm extrapolating into the future, right? I just tell myself, I'm like, I don't really care to speculate, because from where we're at now, where I sit in 2020, when I was a kid in the 1990s, you just can't fathom what it's going to be like. I'm holding the cell phone, I'm touch screens, all this stuff. No way, no way. So I didn't really care to speculate about whether or not we'd have certain technological capabilities during the time period that the story takes place in, which is actually the year 2062. No one, I don't think anyone could have predicted where we're at now with any degree of accuracy, like realistic accuracy, like 40 years ago. And I think it's the same going forward, right? In 40 years, what will we be doing? What will we be buying? What will we be consuming? I have no idea. And I didn't really want to answer that question because I was focused on other things. Second reason I didn't focus on tech was because I wanted to focus on not the tech itself, but how the advanced tech I included in the story impacted the characters. That's far more interesting to me than describing the technical details of a futuristic device or some whiz-bang technology. I know some writers really get into the hard science and they want to know the physics and the thermodynamics of how, they want to depict that in their stories, but that's not me. I don't really have that background, so I didn't really want to go there. I kept it kind of generic with technology. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. After all, at the end of the day, I feel like technology is just another tool to make the human experience more efficient. It's no different than the wheel or fire. Us humans, we've always used tech, right? Those types of tech, even ancient tech, to make our lives easier. And I don't think that's going to change in the future. At least I don't think it will change. So like many of the other media that I mentioned, that's coming out now, that's focusing on the future. I mentioned Cyberpunk 2077. Those of you, by the way, who don't know what that is, it's a new game that depicts this world of the future, and you get to customize your character, and you're basically like a cyborg type. And in this world, everyone's like half human, half augmented, and then of course you get a bunch of cool weapons. You fight, you can help people out, you develop, you go through the story. But it's interesting just because it's in that futuristic vein, right? So anyway, I feel like this game and other media like it are grappling with this question: what does it mean to be human? I mean, what does it mean to be human in an era where not only our physical bodies can be altered to look like and do whatever we want them to do, but also our very conscious experience can be played out in our minds without ever having to leave our front door? What happens when not just a few people, but nearly everyone can become basically whatever they want to be? Will they still be human? Will there still be a place in our society for those old values like love, bonding, loyalty, legacy? Or will we find lofty experiences that are completely divorced from the previous demands of our biological corporal confinements? I like that word, corporal. I know I just asked a ton of questions. Of course, I don't have the answers to these, and I'm not saying my book does either. But they are questions that are important that I think we need to try and answer as a collective species if we want to move into the future in a deliberate manner. Because if we allow this evolutionary process to be dictated by the technology that we create, then I think the future might start to look closer and closer like the dystopian worlds depicted in many of our stories. And that doesn't seem like the future that I want. I don't want that type of future. And I don't think anybody listening to this wants that type of future either. We want to take the best parts of our humanity and fuse them with technology. But how can we hold on to those parts? what are the parts that we should hold on to, and which ones should we allow technology to enhance or replace altogether? Like I said earlier, a few seconds ago, I'm not saying my novel answers or even addresses all of these questions. I'm just saying, but as the author of the book, these are the questions that I think about often. So naturally, they found their way into my novel. And at the end of the day, after reading the story, I hope more people will begin to think about these questions as well. Maybe not now, but in the not very distant future, the nature of our species may depend on competent and thought out responses to these questions and more. But no pressure, right?
Music for the Sirius and Limnic podcast was provided by Ryan Fonger. For more information about Sirius and Limnic, visit keithhayden.net and subscribe or follow @KH_author on Twitter. For future episodes, subscribe and follow the Sirius and Limnic podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, as well as the Amazon Music app.